aviation growth, post-pandemic, and let's not only look at this year, perhaps post-COVID, what have been the key takeaways? How have the trends been? How's the industry, panned out?
Sure. So, first of all, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for having me over. I think the key is for us to understand how this has evolved post-COVID, right? And if you look at the last 10 days statistics on India domestic, consistently, I have never seen the industry carry more than 4.5 lakh passengers on a daily basis. And we hit a record of about 4,67,000 on the 25th of November. So clearly the worst is behind us. It looks extremely promising as we move forward. And as we build the infrastructure, which is visible, I think it's going to be a strong decade for the industry. It's been built around strong fundamentals. The growth story, after a very long time, seems sustainable. And more importantly, we are seeing a consistent growth and consistent increase in the numbers. Because whatever growth we envisage and we demonstrate has to be sustainable. Historically, if you look at the decade between 2000 to 2010 or even to about 2015-16, when you start seeing 25, 30, 40% growth, you know it's not sustainable and it's going to even out at some stage, which is exactly what we faced as an industry. But what you see now is a consistent growth. There is clear demonstration of network built by airlines, be it domestic or international. And this consistency is what gives you the promise and the strength to say this really looks extremely promising as you look forward.
That's encouraging, in fact, So a lot of support, I think, to the industry also comes from the regulatory, measures. How do you see, are the regulatory measures that are currently in place, enough and apt to support the industry? Or is there something to be desired? As also there's a lot of infrastructure development that's taking place. Two different topics, but also there's somewhere connect, when you look at it.
Yeah, so the stimulus that we have seen over the last several years, even the way COVID was handled, right? The ECLGS scheme that came out to support airlines, give them the oxygen to, overcome some of these massive constraints that they looked at. Right from the UDAN scheme that started in 2015, we have close to 12 million plus passengers who have traveled using the UDAN scheme. The tier 2 penetration and the tier 3 penetration of the footfalls in traffic was in the 20s. It's now in the high 30s, early 40s. It just demonstrates to show that the growth is not just coming from the metros. It's coming from the tier 2, tier 3, and this is because of the initiatives that have been taken. It's because of the various steps that the regulator is taking, the ministry is taking, towards building an economy that's not just focused towards the metros, but it's focused beyond the metros as well. On the infrastructure side, 75 odd airports, 7, 8 years back, gone up to 150 today. It's going up to 200 over the next 5 to 6 years. We are creating secondary airports. Mumbai is going to get another airport. Delhi is going to get another airport. You've got Goa, which recently got MOPA. And some interesting statistics. When these new airports come up, the obvious question that everybody has is, does India have the traffic? Will it withstand the traffic? And let me give you some statistics around Goa, right? The current airport, or the Dabolim airport, had about 60 to 70 departures. The new airport came with a capacity of about 40 to 50. It's all consumed. And by the way, every flight to Goa is full. Delhi, Goa, Delhi, I'm sure most of you travel a lot. Nothing has seen a change in the fares. I think the fares are only increasing out of Delhi. And the capacity is full. And that just goes to show that constrained markets, if you unlock capacity, which is building the infrastructure, you will see that markets like Bombay, markets like Delhi, markets like Goa will only see growth and sustained growth, more importantly. So which is why the way we are spending on infrastructure in about 12 to 14 months, two new airports are going to open up in north and west, which is also important because these two airports haven't seen capacity growth at all in the last 4 to 5 years. So clearly, the way we are building the infrastructure and the way the capacity is getting inducted to fulfill the infrastructure growth that's coming up is truly commendable, and I think it's really going to help the infrastructure. It's really going to help the travel and tourism industry more than anything else, and it's going to create more jobs. It's going to create a fantastic atmosphere to work in, and the growth story of getting to 500 million passengers by 2030, 2032 is just becoming a reality.
And I think we have infrastructure that's at par with world level. In fact, better than a lot of airports that you see across the world. The kind of
Better, I would say. You look at the Bangalore Terminal 2 airport, you look at some of the plans that we have for Navi Mumbai and Delhi. I think we have world-class airports. We also have world-class airlines flying today in this country. So we should be privileged to be a part of this growth story. We should really be privileged to be a part of the industry in general. And it's not just the transportation system, it's the hotels, it's the land arrangements, it's the overall infrastructure that we have built around travel and tourism, which is just phenomenal, and we should be proud of what we have achieved as a country, not just in metros, but even some of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, the way they are building up infrastructure and the way we are providing service, world-class service. I think it's fabulous, and which is why you see tourists coming in. We heard about Kashmir seeing a 300% growth. Not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. Our biggest flaw, if at all, has been our ability to underestimate ourselves and our ability to underestimate our potential. I think we are very good at that consistently across. We really like to underestimate the potential. We like to underestimate ourselves, which is why every time we see these growth, we are surprised. We should not be. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And a population with 140 crores, only 6% haven't taken to the skies. I think sky is the limit. We've got a long way to go. We're nowhere near where we're supposed to be.
No, surprising with Udan especially, you have the ease of flying has made it, possible for a lot of people to, I think, take to the skies than probably over the land. What are the challenges that come to your mind, when you're dealing with, the sector? You did touch upon some, but skill force, the ground force and the others.
So I think we all need to realize that any industry that we be part of, challenges will be constant. The degree of challenges vary. The enormity of these challenges vary. But that's going to remain a constant through the journey. And that's the beauty about the industry in general, the way I see it, especially the airline industry. Having said that, infrastructure, I would say, and the availability of capacity in constrained airports has been a challenge, but that's shaping up quite well, and we will see a change, a visible change around there. As we grow as an industry, as we add capacity, let's face it, we are going to get to about 1,400 aircraft as a country. And let's face it, the MRO facilities, the maintenance facilities, Atmanirbhar is something which we are not when it comes to this industry. And we are making investments towards that. Those were challenges looked at as opportunities now, and there are investments being made towards these specific areas. External challenges will always continue. ATF has been a perpetual challenge. With the wars around a couple of countries, it only puts pressure on that. Rate of exchange is another aspect which does play a critical role. But again, with the gift city that we have come up, with our ability to lease airplanes within this country, and our ability to mitigate some of these risks, because every challenge that is thrown at us, we have tried to mitigate that by you creating an opportunity within this country. So I would say the challenges really are with respect to ATF, which is beyond your control. But everything that has been within our control, we have tried to overcome them, and we have taken steps towards building a strong environment for the industry to survive and grow.
Yeah, we have a lot of airlines, when they come down to India, they talk about how India has grown and how it's making a mark, especially when the airlines, the sector is concerned. What are the technological, advancements that you see within the industry? Anything, any innovation that you think is, going to be talked about in the coming times, which is going to change the way we look at aviation?
So I think there's one area which I strongly believe is the nerve center for any airline, and that's the pricing, revenue management, the way they function, right? And that's where you see airlines invest a lot on machine learning and AI, both. Because to predict consumer behavior, to understand the consumer wants, and based on that, offer what the customer needs is critical. And that's where the technology, or that's where the focus is on tech enablement more than anything else. Right from airports to infrastructure, I think we have come a long way. Today, anybody who travels on any of the airlines, I'm sure you get a message which gate you're going to get into, where is your baggage going to come into which belt. So those are all advancements that have happened over a period of time. And at the various customer touch points to really understand how do we invest in the customer and what do we do to make sure that the customer travels you again, are the steps towards technological advancements that we are making as a country. And I think every airline, every new airport that comes in actually takes it to a completely different level altogether. So with the new airports that have come in, you see the kind of tech enablement that they have activated in these respective airports is just phenomenal.
Look at the way, getting a facial scan done and moving into the airport, how easy it's made your travel, in fact.
Absolutely, and these were, of course, available 6 years, 7 years back. I mean, if you ever traveled to Dubai, face recognition was a part and parcel of your entire journey. You really don't need to encounter an immigration officer or anybody. These are all smart gates, smart access that you can get into. And I think we will get there. It's a matter of time before we start those specific initiatives around here so that it becomes a completely seamless experience for the customer in general.
You mentioned, sustainable aviation fuel. In sustainability, where do you think, aviation sector in India, where do we stand and what are the measures that can be taken? Because carbon footprints and leaving an impression, is a big factor towards climate change, in fact.
So this is an important topic, and if you look at least what we have done in Akasa is we've actually acquired one of the most fuel efficient aircraft. The 737 MAX has got 16% less carbon emissions compared to the next generation and the rest of the other narrow body aircraft in general. But more importantly, these are small steps towards giving it back to the environment and creating something for our kids who would be a part of this environment in the future. I think that's one piece. Biofuel is the other big step that we're taking towards ensuring, because let's face it, from a carbon emission standpoint, we rank right up there in terms of emissions because of the way we are approached and the way we are seen. But there is a lot of investment around creating a bio-green environment, creating green airports in general. If you've ever traveled Akasa, you will see our boxes where we serve meals are all sustainable. The uniforms that the crew wears is all sustainable material, and we even chose not to have a water cannon salute when we get aircraft inducted into the system. I think it's a responsibility that each one has to take for himself, and I think we have a long way to go before we really embrace sustainability to the T. And I think it starts from individuals, it starts from within to see how you can really drive that agenda forward.
You're talking about brand Akasa, I must talk about, what are the factors that led to the birth of brand Akasa? And do you think you've been able to, achieve that point? Because a lot has changed in the way the airlines are structured now.
Right, so one common theme around building Akasa was the simple fact that we saw immense potential. Right as professionals, when we were a part one unit, friends, working together. And then when the pandemic hit, we had a lot of time to work on Excel sheets, which we did. That's how we started creating this airline. But clearly the underlying fact is the growth potential. And I'll tell you what do I mean by saying this growth potential. If you look at the middle and the higher middle class income group, that's growing at a pace of 30, 40, 50% on a consistent basis. What that does is it increases the disposable income. As it increases the disposable income, your ability to travel or discretionary spending goes up significantly. And that's a potential that we saw for the next 10 years. Pandemic, 2020, 2021 was an exception. It's a once in a lifetime occurrence that you really come across. And that really created or prompted us to say that the next few years are going to be extremely strong. And not just that, I think there is potential to create more and more players. And it was probably for the first time that a set of professionals got in together to create something in this industry. And I'm sure over a period of the next few years, you will see very many professionals who would like to come and create this. So the underlying factor was the growth potential. And I'm so happy, and like all of us, we were again wrong at estimating the potential because we under-forecasted the potential for 22, 23, and as we see 24. And that seems to be a common theme around us in general across the industry. We just end up underestimating the potential, which is what we have done. But we're extremely happy with how things have panned out and the way we have been embraced. And we have reached 20 aircraft now, and pretty soon we will also start the international operations because we do have rights to Doha, Kuwait, Jeddah, Riyadh, and Medina now.
You have a smart crew, and that is pet friendly. I think that put you, I think, ahead of others. But there's also a question actually people ask that every seat is priced, it's ticketed. When you look at the strategy, when you look at the strategy of how you're marketing the airline, where do you see it? Has it met its purpose? Do you think you need to change that a bit? How would you, going forward, how would you strategize and make sure at least it cuts above the other airlines who are probably doing the similar things now?
So our brand purpose has been to make flying affordable. And I think on that front, we're very happy with the way we have progressed and the way we are building the brand in general. We have had some amazing response on the crew uniform, especially the sneakers, the gender neutral approach that we have taken as an enterprise. I think there's not even a single flight that I've taken where I have had some customer or the other praising the crew about their sneakers and the uniforms that they wear. And we are happy with where we are today. We are happy with what we have achieved today. But we don't want to rest on our laurels. We want to build something strong. We want to build something where each one of you look forwards to travel, a brand Akasa. And we really want to create an airline where you can relate to, create an airline that you feel good factor, that you're happy about traveling, and more importantly, ensure that we are one of the most on-time carriers in this country, if not the whole world.
Putting together something perfectly also comes with a challenge when people want to poach the staff. So there are a lot of memes going around, people poaching Akasa or Akasa people going out. Are there any, have you taken any steps to retain them? Any incentives that you rolled out? How are you looking at the skill force?
So the way I see this industry post-pandemic, and in a way this is also addressing the question that you had earlier on the availability of people in general, right? I think post-COVID, there has been a lot of exodus of people from the industry. I think it's pretty much a doing of post an airline going bust, and then the pandemic, and then another airline going bust. A lot of people have moved away from the industry. That means you have a lot of fresh talent that's coming in with a new mindset, with a new approach altogether, which I think is very good as well. You have existing staff that's moving away. And that is also because post-pandemic, we have been again guilty of not estimating the growth that we can see across. As a result, there is a lack of skilled labor across the industry. And it's not just the airlines. You see the same issue with hotels. You see the same issue with the agencies that are run. Everywhere there is a shortage of skilled manpower. And you will see the rotation continue for a while. And the way you mitigate this is you hire talent, you get fresh minds to do this for you, you train them, and then you build the future again for the industry. Because let's face it, when we had 40 million passengers traveling way back in 2014, the skill sets were the same. The system that you used were probably different, but the number of people were limited. We are now close to 160 million. It's gone up 4x in a matter of, I would say, 11 to 12 years. Disregard the 2 years in 10 years. So you will encounter this issue with skilled labor in general. But it's the culture, the employee centricity that you create. It's the transparency that you have with the people in general, and how you embrace people in general is what is going to differentiate you, and wanting people to stay back with you. And I think that's make all the difference.
The time's already up, but I'll quickly ask you one last question. We were talking about off stage, about, how things have changed, globally and you said it's an opportunity, it's time for opportunities there, immense opportunities.
So I will go back to what I think the minister mentioned. I think this was about 4 to 6 weeks back, where he said that we want to create India as an aviation hub. And when we say that aviation hub is not just Bombay or Delhi. The aviation hub, we need a hub out of Bombay, we need a hub out of Delhi, we need a hub out of Calcutta, we need a hub out of Ahmedabad. And each one of these at par with some of the best in the East or in the West. And do we have the capability? The answer is an affirmative yes. It just needs intent, it just needs the purpose, and it just needs the ability to think big. In the sense, don't build this keeping in mind that the growth is going to be not more than, or we're not going to hit more than 250 million passengers by 2030. If we think 250 million, then we are going to fail. So the moment we look at how we want to grow, keeping in mind the trajectory that's been shown and the disposable income that's going up, and the capacity that's going to come in. I heard somebody talk about every air show being tagged as the India air show, and no longer any other airline air show except for the Dubai air show, but I think there was not a single order placed by Indian carriers. But it just goes to, the reason why I'm deliberating on this point is we all need to realize that we underestimate the growth potential. We underestimate ourselves as Indians. We underestimate our potential in general. The moment we start getting the right estimates going, and the moment we start seeing this as a huge potential as we get forward, I think we have the potential to be the number 2 in the world very soon. It's a matter of having that self-belief, and it's a matter of demonstrating that through building infrastructure and being well coordinated amongst all the stakeholders. I think that's the key. The moment you have that networking together, and when you have a strong support through the state and the central, which we see on a consistent basis, I think sky is the limit for us. And like we call it, it's your sky, go fly.
Let's hope we keep flying high. Thank you so much, for joining us here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.